Oh my God, don't say it.
I'm Austin.
I'm Kenny.
I'm Kate.
And I'm Cloud.
This is We Watch.
This is We Watch Movies, and this will be a movie episode in the later part of the show. But as we promised in the last episode, this is the next episode of the beginning of the year. So we're going to review last year, much earlier.
The whole
than we
year.
did last year. I think we ended up being in February or something before we got there, but we're getting here right away, and everybody's here. I think Cloud has and I have more extensive documentation than Kenny and Kate do, but we'll have some thoughts from everyone. So
You have a little more than I do.
a little more.
And definitely more than me.
Because anything is more than nothing.
I guess, yeah. Schrodinger's everything. It's both everything and nothing at the same time.
As long as it's in a box.
They'll keep your everything in a box. Box of holding holds everything. So firstness?
Firstness, what?
Whom?
Huh?
Firstness, comma, who?
Okay, so since me and Austin have actually kept lists,
Yeah, I guess we'll go over the broad numbers first.
Yeah.
I would say
cycle around with the,
I covered 155 movies this year.
Is that counting the October movies?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't count everything, which is
I have 165 counting the October movies.
which is less than last year, I guess. Yeah,
I don't remember how many I had last year, but
100. Like
I think it's more than. I think mine is more than last year.
like last year I had 102 movies, and then no, that's more than last year because I only did 102. I did 95 movies and 7 TV shows. This year's more.
I don't count TV. I know you only do it with whole seasons of things, but I didn't write any of that.
If I watch an entire season, that counts as one.
So did you break it down by how many of each star?
Kind of, yeah.
You have some rough reference.
Okay, so I ended up messing up because when we started our October special stuff, we started it obviously before October, and I ended up not actually putting the appropriate stars for everything, so I'm kind of a little behind. But roughly, there's 4 1-star movies for the year.
Like in the specials.
Yeah, in the specials. There is 41 2-star movies.
Oh, that's more than I have.
42 3-star movies, 22 4-star movies, and 11 5-star movies.
Oh, that's a lot.
So a lot of shit, basically.
Oh, yes.
Do you not have any single stars?
I got 4 1-stars.
4 1-star. Okay.
4 1-stars.
I have 2 1-stars, 24 2-stars, 33 stars, 44 stars, and 33 5-stars. So I liked things this year, apparently. It seems.
Kate's gonna have to help me.
Now
remember
that's
what I've watched
without
this
the
year.
October shows. If you count the October shows, there's a lot more 2s and 3s in there, which I didn't write those down with the stars. So, and actually, I know something in there is wrong because that doesn't add up to 134. So somehow I miscounted. I didn't care enough to work it out.
We'll forgive you.
So, since both of you don't have any idea how many, then we'll just go around with we'll just circle around with good things, and then we'll do some disappointing things or like the worst possible things that you saw, and we'll just go through a few as we go around. So one of you first, since we already talked.
Okay, Kate, what did I hate this year?
A Quiet Place.
I hated that movie.
And see,
But
I'm gonna add in on that because I put down for too good and too bad, and one of my bad was A Quiet Place.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
God.
I
Yeah.
liked A Quiet Place. I thought it was good.
I mean, I can't think. I mean, I know that was a more recent one throughout the year, but I'm trying to think what else I saw throughout the year. But I don't think anything topped that as far as ones I didn't like. Right? Because we watched a bunch of other ones that, I either liked or was like meh. But as far as strong opinions, yeah, definitely didn't like. Definitely didn't like that. When did we watch? Oh no, I watched that.
What?
Trying to think of.
That wasn't
Movies
more
that
recent either. A Quiet Place was in April.
April.
So
Yeah.
that was
What did
way
we
back
watch
in the
before
year.
that? Everything blends together. I'm trying, that's why I'm keeping a list this year. 'Cause everything blends together, and I'll think of something, and I'll be like, this movie, and you'll be like, no, you watched that in 2014.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
Especially this past year was like such a blur. It went
we
by
watched
so fast.
mainly like the comic book movies, I think.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we'll get to those when we get to the best things.
Yeah, because I think that's mainly what.
We went to because we've been choosy on like what we go to the theaters for too, since we were like,
Yeah, well, mine,
paying
like you
for a
can
lot
tell if
this
you
year.
looked at my list, the first half of the year there's a lot of theater, like new stuff, and then the second half of the year there's not, because that like the theater that I worked at shut down at the end of May. So everything before that was like, oh, we'll just see things when they come into the theater, which we didn't get everything, but we got a lot of things. And then after that, it's like, oh, I have to like spend money now. And
yeah.
also I'm making less money than I was. So the theater gets choosy.
Yeah.
So that's a thing that you hated A Quiet Place. What did you hate anything, Kate?
I don't know if I hated anything. Not that I can really think of. Like I am choosy when it comes to movies. Like people have to force me to watch movies sometimes because I am choosy. But then I end up liking them. Like people like bully me into watching them. So I can't think of any right now, but if I do think of it, I'll just be like, wait, I remember. But I feel like I liked everything I went to go see and watched at home. I do watch a lot of TV shows too, and I liked all of those.
All right then.
I'm trying to think of.
Well, for both y'all, are there any notable likes? Like, oh, I really liked this one.
I know you said we're gonna get into this, but I really liked Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like that was so funny. Like I will watch it right now again. Oh wait, no, I do have one that I don't know if I should say it, but I do have one that I didn't like as I thought I would. The Greatest Showman came out in 2018, right?
I think so.
Okay. Did you guys see that one?
believe so. Yes.
I have not.
So, I mean, I felt bad because like a lot of people were like, oh my God, you have to see it. You especially will love it, blah, blah, blah. And so I was really excited to watch it, but I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. It was just, the music was wonderful. I love Hugh Jackman, Michelle Williams. They're all great. But the story of it and just how it all came together was just kind of like, eh. So that was a little bit of a
Well, I mean, the thing is that P.T. Barnum was not a nice guy, and so they're doing, and actually, Greatest Showman was 17, December of 17, so you might not have seen it until 18. If you
I don't
didn't
think
see
I
it.
did
It came out
see it
December
until it came
20th,
out.
so it was right at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Okay. I saw it at home, so it was definitely 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, don't feel bad. I've actually heard very similar reports on the movie where it's like, hey, this was great and this is great, but what is this? It's kind of dull. So-
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you're not alone. You're not alone.
Yeah. I
Okay,
think
good.
that wasn't on my super hate list, but it was more on the okay, that happened.
Yeah, I did largely enjoy it. The music was good and stuff, but it is a little it's a little bit flat overall.
Yeah, that's
So.
I think, and comparing it to other movie musicals that I've seen, I was just kind of like,
Especially the way it was like regarded. I mean, it was hyped up so much.
Oh
and
yeah,
then I watched it. I'm
people,
like,
people talked about it like it was a boom cannon, and it wasn't.
Yeah, then I watched it. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, it exists. That's about
It
it.
does. It exists. That's what it does.
But it wasn't
Starts
like
out
this.
really good. That opening song is good. And
Well,
they were
there's
like-
a
the
couple
The
of
thing
music
others
was
is-
too.
great. It's just how it all comes together. It's
Yeah.
just kind of. It's just like I.
I think what spiraled it into being this popular like driving thing that people liked was all about the like they turned it into like a political statement basically because of all like because they were like the freaks in the show and they were like
became a diversity
about being accepted. So I think it was
which
largely
is
because of
largely
that. That's why it got
false.
hyped up.
in the actual like the real story. So it's
Yeah, but they got it hyped up because they're like, oh, this is me, except for who I am, blah, blah, blah. And it became this, like, more of, like, a social movement than just a mediocre movie.
yeah.
I did really like the music though.
Yeah,
Like I
it's
would
fun
buy
to
the
sing along
soundtrack
with,
before the
too.
movie.
Because I have done that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Um,
music, no, if you had it on a CD and you were just listening to the music, it's fine. But the movie was just kind of like,
Yeah, I mean,
it didn't
is,
really tie it together in a way that I'm like, this was a whole package. Like, you could just listen to the music and probably be happier at the end of it than watching the movie because you don't have all that wasted time.
The thing
We saw
about the
Mary
music is it's all very samey. Like it's all the same tempo. It has kind of the same percussion behind it, which the reason for is because they originally wanted to license popular songs, and then that fell apart right. And so it was all like choreographed to that. And so then when they turned out not to do that and they had to write original music, they had to do it very quickly, and they were stuck with at least the click tracks of everything and the tempo to match the choreography, and so then it ended up sounding kind of samey accidentally, and so it's not quite as dynamic as you really want like an iconic musical to be.
Bam, got him.
But it's
That's interesting.
so you saw Mary Poppins Returns?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I was gonna ask if you guys saw it. 'Cause,
No, I
mean,
haven't seen it.
Don't forget to
I
put that
liked
on the
it.
list for 2000. Wait, did you watch it this year or last year?
No, we watched it in 2018
Okay.
before.
Mm,
Yeah.
did we?
You
Yeah.
might have. It came out. I think it came out
Before New
didn't it?
Year's, I think. Yeah, it was the 29th we went to go see it.
Are you
Okay.
sure?
I'm
I feel like it
positive.
was-
I made the plans with Amy, so I remember it being the
Okay.
29th because I worked that day.
This is
too.
why I asked her because I'm like, I don't remember.
It
what
came
I
out
I remember
the
it.
December 19th, so you could have seen it right at the end of the year.
Yeah. So, I mean, I am not a huge fan. It doesn't mean I dislike it, but I'm not a huge fan of the original. Like, it's not something like, oh, it was from my childhood. I actually watched it a lot at an art camp. Like, we were forced to watch it on repeat, and I was so sick of it. It didn't really make any sense to me. It didn't click with me. But I did go see this one because, one, I love Lin-Manuel Miranda. I love Emily Blunt, and it was a movie musical. I gotta see him. And I really liked it. I liked the story of it. It all came together as I wasn't expecting. So I definitely think you guys should watch it when it comes out, or if you go to the theater. It was really good.
Well, and I liked the original one, I think, more than you. Like, back in the early days, like before there was even a show, like fairly immediately before there was a show, but like super, super early on, I had discovered that you didn't really like Mary Poppins, which was I didn't really understand because you like musicals in general, but we never really talked about it in detail because we were going to save it to do on the show at some point, which we still need to do. It's been like 5 years we haven't gotten around to it yet, but we should at some point discuss it because it is sort of mysterious to me exactly what it is about it that
I know. I love Julie
that you don't
Andrews.
like.
I think it's just like maybe the art camp, the fact that I was like,
you were made
force fed
to
the
yeah.
movie.
I think that happens to
It
people a
just-
lot when like they're made to read classic books in school, and then they're like, I hate this book, and it's like, well, but you probably wouldn't have if you hadn't been made to read it when you didn't really want to. So
right.
that could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should do that on the show, and then you guys can watch the new one, and then we'll do that one too.
All right, Austin, what do you got?
Well, for like just like things I hated, there's only those two, which are not like those the two 1-star ones are Proud Mary and Hostiles, but those aren't really ones that I was like excited about. They just turned out to be like not very, like Hostiles was just so like nothing happens and I don't care about any of this and all of this, and that's another one that everyone thought was like the best thing ever, and I did totally disagree. It was just like, I don't care about this at all, and like all of us watched it at the theater and just like none of us could like cared at all. It was just like a slog to get through, and we just didn't care. And Proud Mary could have been something that was exciting if it had been handled at all well, but it just really wasn't. Just everything about it was dumb and just didn't make sense, and the action was bad and there wasn't enough of it for the kind of story. It was just not good. But see, I'm trying to think of things. What was it that I wanted to like and didn't? I mean, I've talked about the 3 Billboards and Lady Bird being like things that really made me angry, but we already talked about that extensively. I didn't really have anything that I was actually excited about that turned out not to be very, very good. Like A Quiet Place turned out to be like, I had problems with it. I don't think I disliked it as much as Kenny. I have it down here on the list as a 4-star, which I'm kind of like debating with myself now if it's actually low enough, but I didn't really hate anything. Well, we did Bright on the show. I didn't like that very much.
You're starting to push into my territory, son.
I didn't like it especially. It wasn't like 1 star, but it wasn't. I didn't.
It has
like
Will Smith in it, so it's good automatically. So
it's just false.
Oh,
Will Smith could be, people you like can be in bad things.
Rewind time.
We have an entire.
That's a false statement.
We have an entire like recurring series of movies, unfortunately starring Pierce Brosnan. So like, I really like Pierce Brosnan.
God.
He's in things that aren't good.
Stop with him.
So unfortunately,
he's in everything that's not good.
Really, really great things. Like the top thing we'll get to last probably, which I feel like everyone probably already knows. But other things. The new Mission Impossible was really, really good. Now, we did a show on it, so I won't talk about it extensively, but that was one of my favorite things of 2018. And then also The Post, which was the Spielberg movie about the Washington Post during the, what was it? The Pentagon Papers, I think is what it was, about Vietnam. And then Darkest Hour, which was about Winston Churchill, played by Gary Oldman, was really, really good. It's a really good, like, just straight, heavy, like, historical, just drama and acting and history and nothing, you know, there's not really any action or anything that happens. It's just like people in rooms being English and historical. And it was really, like, you can't, Gary Oldman has made an entire career out of being unrecognizable in things.
Oh yeah.
But this is one of the ones where he's like, you would never know it was him if you didn't know. Like, he so perfectly inhabits Churchill, and some of it is makeup effects and things, but it was really, really good. We'll come back to the other two that I have here, and you can say a few things.
All right. So I based these picks not off of overall ratings, because for the things that I'm going to note as not being good, I do have Bright and A Quiet Place. And I gave both of these movies 3 stars because they do have good things in them. But the problem with Bright ends up being like the overall lack. It's just like, it's a movie that's low and it did things that earned stars compared to just being overall good that may included something bad. And then I feel like A Quiet Place was the opposite, because there was so much good, and then it was just pelted with like, your wife is pregnant and about to pop, but you're just gonna just run off and take your son instead of trying to take care of your, I'm about to have a kid wife. Okay, that's dumb. Or I'm not gonna pay any attention to our youngest child who's in the back of the line while there's creatures out here that like sound out things and eat us. Okay, that's dumb. So get wrecked. This is terrible. Move on.
It had things that pecked away at it.
Yeah. But for the things that I think are positive, now, one, Planet Godzilla, which was the first of the animated Godzilla movies that are being released. I haven't seen any of the other ones.
Yeah, they're now up to 3.
Yeah, because I'm going to wait for them to finish. And then I'm just going to binge watch them for an entire day. But these are going to be movies that I feel I didn't expect, and then I was pleasantly surprised. Because the Planet Godzilla movie was something that was vastly different compared to a lot of the other Godzilla movies made. And I would say it is really good in that regard. But if you're like, I only like the classic Godzilla kind of stuff, then yeah, you might as well stay away from it, because chances are you're not going to like it because blah. Now, the second one is Venom. I enjoyed Venom. I gave it a 4. I gave it a 4-star rating. But I went into Venom expecting it to be just garbage. Like, it was going to be terrible and Sony was going to mess this up, but I was going to watch it anyways. And then they were like, oh yeah, we're actually going to make something that is pretty good. And I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed it so much I bought it when it came out. So Venom is my second
It was all
positive
garbage.
pick. Yeah, it was all garbage. It's my second pick of the year.
Well, it didn't come out this year or that year, but one of the things like that I was surprised to discover was actually really good was Tomorrowland, which we did for the show, and so you can listen to that. But that was one where I was like, I didn't bother to see this back then, and then we watched it, and I was like, oh, this is like good and like important and special, and I like missed it for like 3 years.
Now I know I've made this comment in the past, and I've probably talked about it prior, but back in March when I was doing my monster movie marathon kind of stuff, I had previously mentioned that there was this one movie about like the Yeti, abominable snow monster, like all that kind of stuff, like Bigfoot in snow. Okay. And it was really, really good, and I enjoyed it, and it was something to make note of. And it was on Amazon Prime, and it's called Snow Beast. So if anyone was ever interested in what I was talking about, that's what it was. It was Snow Beast. Yeah.
Cool. So then the big one is Infinity War.
All right.
Infinity War is like, without like any kind of competition, my favorite thing that happened in 2018, and is like way high up. Dependent, they could screw it up, but it'll still like stand fairly well alone. I think they could screw it up in game, but it's like way up in like favorite things in general now. Like, it just was like right to the top of things. It's one of my favorite ever things. Right?
I can agree with that.
So Infinity War wins 2018.
Yeah. Well,
Infinity War was good. I was trying to think of ones that I actually liked, and yeah, that's one of them.
I would say I enjoyed it, but I'm gonna be on the fence about it, since it's one of those like, oh, well, the story's not actually complete until we have this, and then I'll make a final decision whenever they complete this.
Yeah, I said they could screw it up.
Yeah,
but just as it sits right now, it's like so much about it is so good. I really enjoyed Ant-Man and the Wasp also. Actually, I think I forgot to write it down. So 135, I guess.
Kenny, Kate,
I can't find it on the list here.
Did y'all get to see the in-game trailer?
Yes, we did.
Tell me how excited you were when like Ant-Man showed up and he's like, "Hey guys, remember I punched you?"
I was way more excited.
I've been waiting for it.
Yeah, like when he showed up there.
Because for a while we were just like, okay, Ant-Man wasn't in Infinity War. Then he came out with Ant-Man and the Wasp, and we knew he's gonna have something to do with Endgame. And then when the trailer came out and they're all like, "Is that tape old or new?" thing. I was like, yes, I can't wait.
Yeah, I was like, I totally fanboyed all over that. Because it's just like, okay, whatever, in game, we're going to finish the story. And just Ant-Man just drives up and he's just being awkward and a security camera. Yeah, Ant-Man!
Well, I'm... Okay, so I suppose this is a spoiler for the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, but like, you've had a few months now. I mentioned this vaguely when it happened, whatever episode we did right after I had seen it. But at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, there's, as there has been in most of the movies, the character name will return. That they sort of took from James Bond, which took it from, I think, Buck Rogers or something. And the having the period change to a question mark, like at the last second, is one of the most like shocking, horrifying things that's ever happened to me, movie wise. Like it was more horrifying than anything that we did in October. Like it shocked and scared me more. Just that, and it's one piece of punctuation changing, but coming after Infinity War with how much it impacted me, and then having that be the cap on it, and still not knowing, pre in-game trailer, we don't know anything. Like that was just like, I don't know, I can't I don't know what to do right now. This is so heavy.
It's like me.
It's like if I can just imagine how it, like how you read it, you're like, it will return.
Yeah. Well, and then it changed. It's that it changed. It was like Ant-Man will return, which we had at the end of the previous Ant-Man movie, and then to say like, wait, will he? He's like stuck in the quantum realm, and
like they said he will return, and then immediately like shrug their shoulders.
Just like,
maybe.
I'm really frightened right now. Oh, one other thing.
The Godzilla trailer.
Well, we talked about the Godzilla trailer already on the last episode, though. Did either of you see Bohemian Rhapsody?
No, not yet. I really want to, though.
Go see it.
It's good. You probably can't. I don't think you can see it. It's probably gone now. But
watch. I don't care. Redbox something. Go watch that movie.
You should watch it. It's like we had some minor quibbles with it, but it's a very enjoyable experience.
Yes,
and it's well worth the time.
And I'm not big into watching award shows of people getting awards for things, and it's just like, oh yeah, they did great in doing this. Here you go. Statue, like, all right, cool. But like, what was his name? Sam Raimi, the dude who I was like Freddie Mercury. Is that his name?
No,
was
Sam Raimi.
Rami Malek.
The creepy guy.
Oh, that's right. I don't know why I was thinking Sam Raimi. I'm dumb.
Rami Malek.
Okay, I got the Raimi part right, just in the wrong way. Okay, and he ended up winning like an award for being like best actor or whatever for the year for that role. And I'm like, okay, I can understand. That was really, really good.
It was really good.
It was really good.
It is like.
Does he not look creepy to anybody else? Like,
I mean,
like normally, like when he's not being Freddie Mercury, or
just normally. He just looks like his face, just really creepy.
Nah,
I never really noticed
stuff like that. Don't bother me.
Really, he reminds me of like, what's the old car? It was
Listen, I've seen so many Florida Man articles, and the people in those mugshots look way worse than him. So I'm not even concerned.
So what? Like Rami Malek is like real life Uncanny Valley for you or something? Like what?
He looks like I'm trying to think of it. It was a cartoon. I don't know if it was Bugs Bunny or one of those older cartoons where they had like the mob type ones with like the
Bunny, yeah.
Like the gap in the teeth. Yeah. Like, I don't know why it reminds me of that. I don't know. He just has like the way his like head is like kind of cocked sideways, and it's just like he's always got like his mouth pointed. I don't know. It just
what?
That looks weird.
I feel like this is just a you thing.
Yeah, I think this is just
yeah.
There's no fucking way.
What makes people different makes them powerful.
Not exactly.
Yeah,
I'll disagree with both of you.
Yeah, we're not gonna agree with like any of this rainbow snowflake business.
Yeah,
like
no. Get that out of here.
Different things being different are fine and additive.
If they're useful.
But yeah, not necessarily. Like,
well, it's like I like the one where it's like it's a lineup of forks and one fork is just jacked up, and it's just like being different doesn't make you useful kind of thing. And it's just like, yeah, just that fork can go into the trash. I don't need it anymore. We'll throw it into the smelter. Reuse that metal, which is the equivalence of throwing a body in a wood chipper and then using it as pulp for a garden. You shouldn't do that.
You shouldn't.
It doesn't actually apply any nutrition to the plants.
Maybe. You can put some moose in the wood chipper. People, no.
No, not
it's like in a train of mooses.
Train loaded with moose into an enormous wood chipper. Go and read. There's an old IGN review for a game called High Rollers Casino from, I don't know, early 2000s. It's one of the funniest things you'll ever read. Go and check it out. I might link to it in the episode description for this. It's one of
really
our favorite
good.
things, and you need it for context for us because we reference the moose and the wood chipper. So that's where it comes from. I'll dig it out and link it to so you can check it out.
Like, he looks like he looks like if he was in a movie playing like the murderer that murders people but severely enjoys it.
Severely.
Like where you're in pain and they're like,
he stopped.
Like,
he actually stopped.
Look at the picture I just put in the thread. Like, imagine that, and then on the other, he's staring at somebody like being tortured. Like, that's just what I imagine.
See, like, okay, so you set the second picture, and all I can think of is like somebody staring at a computer screen, just be like waiting for something to load. It's like
I imagine right now he's staring at some contraption he made, just like rip somebody apart.
Oh my god.
Put these, we'll tweet these pictures from the show account so you can know what we're talking about.
I mean, nothing against the guy. He's probably a cool guy. Just saying.
And he plays a very, very good Freddie Mercury.
He's gonna listen to this and be like, "What the fuck? That was mean."
I mean,
if you're listening to this, write in. Let us know.
From
Kenny's
the
the only one
trailer,
that thinks you look weird.
You're listening to this, Remy Malek. I do not agree with his opinion, so don't blacklist me.
He probably agrees. He's like, yeah, I do look creepy.
No.
Moving on.
And now, our feature presentation.
Today's movie is Speed. Speed is a 1994 romantic action crime thriller film directed by Jan de Bont, starring Keanu Reeves, Dennis Hopper, Sandra Bullock, Joe Morton, Alan Ruck, and Jeff Daniels. How about a plot synopsis?
Kate.
No, I did it the last time.
No, Kenny did it the last time.
Yeah, but you weren't here.
Kenny, you do it.
Fine. Okay, plot synopsis. Well, basically it's a cop who's been dealing with the same, I guess, criminal that they don't know, and we open up with them dealing with some sort of bomb where he wants money, but he seems to know what he's doing, as far as all the bombs and stuff. So as it progresses, they think they kind of thwart it. They think they killed him, but it progresses into after some little award party where they get medals for being awesome. It turns out he's not dead, and now he still wants money, and now it's on a bus, and the bus, if it goes over or under 50 miles per hour, it will explode. So a bunch of crazy, unrealistic stuff happens, and they eventually get everybody off the bus by tricking the guy, kind of outsmarting him, once they kind of figure it out. And they get everybody off the bus, and then there's a nice big explosion at the end, and then they yeah, that's about it. Oh, and then what they like kiss, and that's it. That's all I got out of it.
Are we about to fight over this? Because like you kind of sound less than enthusiastic, and
I mean, if you're gonna say it was good, maybe.
Okay, so we are gonna fight. But before we fight, we have in the interest of the Larry King dictum of tell the audience of the circumstance. As far as we knew, we did an episode on Speed, like about the movie Speed. Like not on, we did do Speed and then do a show.
we did a movie on
episode
like what movie
ever.
did
we weren't on Speed.
What movie did we discuss? I don't even remember.
Yeah, we talked very fast, but so we thought we did, and like I have evidence that we at least were going to right before, I think it's March, like the 2016 March Monster episodes. That because I have like the music that I just played, that's labeled Speed opening. It's from that time when we thought we did it. These files I didn't make for this. They already existed. They were in my files in the jingles folder. I have here the legal pad with the notes on it that I wrote when we watched it to do the show. I didn't write notes this time. I just pulled out the old notes, which I did when we finally got around to doing the Santa Claus the year after we originally intended to do it. So we did all of the preparation, if nothing else, of doing a show, and we remember doing a show. Or we're pretty sure we remember doing a show, but we didn't do a show, or we did, and I lost the files. I can't find any. I have other raw files from that other episodes of that time. All I have is the jingles and the notes and memory.
The
And
lost
so,
episode.
Like we have a legitimate lost two legitimate lost episodes, the Notebook episode and the Triple X episode, both of which we'll, I suppose, recreate as we're now doing with this Speed episode that we thought we already did.
You lost the Notebook episode?
Yeah, because it was
we did in like Jacksonville.
We recorded it as episode 2, and then we decided that we were doing the alphabet thing, and so I was saving it for and then sometime between then and when it was time for it to come out, the files got corrupted or something, and like there's no audio in the project files. And
yeah,
so
we even lost Triple X the same way.
Yeah, Triple X. Well, Triple X was an export problem, and then I didn't keep the files, and so we only have Cloud's half of the audio. But yeah, so the Notebook episode is no one's ever heard. So all of the
I guess we just have to watch it again.
We actually we reference it in the Beauty and the Beast episode, which was recorded as episode 3 but aired as episode 2. There's this whole independent woman runner that actually originates in the Notebook episode, but no one ever heard it but the people who were there, which doesn't even include Cloud. So there's only even partial memory of it. But so. We thought we did a Speed episode. Apparently,
I thought you guys did too, because I swear when Cloud texted and said that we were doing Speed for this one, I didn't say anything, but I was like, oh, I thought they already did that.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing that I can think happened is we intended to do it, and then we did record it, but then we didn't use it because we ran up against March, and so we were going to save it until after that, and then somehow it just never got used, and we forgot about it, and I lost the file somehow. I don't know. But yeah, I was pretty sure. Like I wrote to Superfan Dave and asked, "Did you remember us ever mentioning Speed as an episode?" And he said, "I think maybe." but it's years ago now, and so nobody can be sure. And I haven't gone back and listened to episodes around the time to see if we mentioned it. But we're doing it now, and this is better anyway because we have everybody here. When we did it the first time, it was just me and Cloud. So now it's a full show.
Ooh.
Wow.
So we'll start at the beginning. I really like the titles because I really like the music, and also I like this like long continuous elevator thing, which is a model. It's not a real elevator shaft. It's a model of an elevator shaft. It's one of like 3 really really good large scale miniatures that they did. The subway tunnel at the end is another one.
That one I wasn't too big into the intro titles for the elevator thing, but the subway model was good. Is good.
Now the elevator, the actual elevator accident is somewhat debatable. It's not the most egregious usage of an elevator emergency in movies, but Kenny, both your dad and your brother have worked and work in elevator repair and so forth. So I'm sure it would actually be interesting to have one of them to talk to one of them about elevators portrayed in movies sometime and the
they're mainly I mean there's always problems with elevators in movies.
There are. Like I know there are, and I don't work on elevators.
I mean the main ones that always get that are always the main things that aren't real that always get I think put on there is like the hatch in the top of the elevator.
Yeah.
Even if there is a service hatch, it's not something you can just,
climb into.
Yeah, like pop up like inside, move a little light panel and just like open. That's not how it works. And
that's been in a few movies. They're like, we'll just go up through the ceiling. And it's like, wait, any elevator I've been in, there's no just trap door.
And I'm actually shocked that there was actually a brake on that elevator.
Yeah, that's because the thing that they usually get wrong is they just cut the cable and it just falls. And it's like, but they have emergency brakes that operate by, like, if the cable is cut, they engage mechanically by spring.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing you can do.
Like a centrifugal brake that causes it to go in.
Not in the 80s. Apparently.
It's non-disableable. Which at least here, the emergency brakes engage. They also have C4 on them, so then they just deal with it in a reasonable way.
The thing I don't know, which I would like to ask, is if the emergency brake does engage, does it just stop wherever it is, or does it bring it, to the bottom, or does it bring it to a level? I don't know exactly the mechanics on that.
I feel like it would just stop wherever it is. Like, let's just drop it all the way to the bottom and hope it doesn't crash. And then if somebody were,
I should have asked Justin that before, because I am curious, because it did actually have the brake. Because the first thing when it started to drop, I'm like, oh, here we go, and then it actually stopped. I'm like, okay, there's that.
And then the one bitch who's like, I can't come up, and Keanu Reeves is like, you will die. Please just come now.
Yeah. Which at least she does. It's like she's like, no, and then it doesn't take her very long to get over it. Now, before that, though, because there's a lot to talk about in the actual elevator sequence, but our introduction to Keanu is he jumps his car over a hill at high speed and arrives at the crime scene because he's extreme or something, and we have to get it out of the way right away.
But why?
I don't know. It's like the beginning of what was the Taylor Lautner movie, Abduction. Where the opening of that movie is they're going to a party and he's riding on the hood of the car and extreme music is playing and they're turn inside. It's like there's a mission in GTA San Andreas called Fender Ketchup, which is that same thing exactly, but in that case it's negative because you're trying to get a guy to give you information, but he's just I'm riding on the front of the car because I'm extreme, because you don't believe I'm an action hero yet because I've only been in the Twilight movies and that Shark Boy and Lava Girl thing when I was 8 years old. And
so they're like, we need a fast track
story than Twilight.
And at this point, it may be a similar thing with Keanu, because he had this is before Matrix, this is before Johnny Mnemonic. The only vaguely action thing that he'd been in at all was Point Break, and he doesn't actually do any of the actual stunts or anything in that. He does extensively in this. So this is kind of the beginning of action Keanu, but it's just is that how he arrives at all crime scenes? And they're in Los Angeles. It's not even San Francisco, where the jumping over hills as police is a commonplace thing in movies. But then once we actually get into the elevator thing, what were you about to go into?
Okay, so it's something shared in the movie, and it's something that I always complain about, but I can understand that we're in a life and death situation and you're really scared. But when someone's just hey, if you do this, you'll live, and you're just nah, I'm too scared. Stop it. Stop it.
Oh, that part annoyed the hell out of me.
Stop it. Because they do it in the elevator, they do it on the bus.
Just drop. We'll get to the bus. So we'll get to that on the bus.
When things like that are in a movie, it immediately kind of starts annoying me, because I feel like it itself is a trope, but it's not a good trope, because it just makes me not like people. So it's just well, if they want to be dumb and not live, then let them die. So
that's what I mean. The elevator's dropping, and all you have to do is just take 2 steps. And no, I'm just gonna stay over here, as if that's in any way gonna turn out good.
Yeah.
That part just annoyed the hell out of me. I was like, please, just let the elevator drop.
Yeah.
Just drop.
If
I don't care.
if you're in a situation,
I'm not gonna care about that character at all.
Yeah, when you're in a situation where you're going to die, but doing something could cause you to live, and then you're just oh yeah, I'm too scared to live. Well,
yeah.
The alternative is death.
Too scared. Yeah.
Too scared to live.
Dead.
Why did they send the police? Shouldn't they send a repair guy?
Yeah, well, I mean, you would think normally, but they don't know that there's a bomb. Or bombs, multiple bombs of various kinds, which I don't know very much about bombs. I know less about bombs than I do about elevators, and I don't know that much about elevators.
That's good, because the FBI is listening. So,
but the bomb looks pretty easy to defuse. It just kind of looks like detonators stuck into wads of C4, and it doesn't look like there's any kind of if you pull it out of the C4, it's going to go off. There's no multiple wiring, or there is later with the bus bomb. It just looks like you could just pull the fuses out, like a cartoon. Now, maybe that's not true, but it just appears that way because
Well,
it's a very simplistic looking bomb. So
Well, I think that's kind of the thing that we've been programmed for movies is like, if it looks super complicated, then ooh, this is going to cause a scene with tension in it. But if it's just like a lump of C4 clay and it's got like one thing going inside of it, you know, it's like, it doesn't look like unplugging it's going to set it off because the thing that's going to explode is no longer attached to anything.
yeah.
So it's just like, you could just kind of reach over there and just like
Just reach
rip
over.
that out and then nothing would know.
He's really chewing that gum.
Yeah.
Too. Like, which is only in that one scene. He doesn't do it later, so it's not like he's a gum guy. Now, I guess he had coffee in the later scene, so you're not going to chew gum and drink coffee at the same time. But
Unless you're disgusting.
or unless it's coffee flavored gum, maybe.
Maybe.
But he's going to town. I do like his. I'm not going to follow orders. I'm looking around. I'm going to figure this out. And it's what saves the whole thing. And then because it saves the whole thing, we're spared the or actually even in spite of sometimes we're spared the yelling police captain that even though things went well, you still didn't do what we said kind of scene that's common in 80s and 90s action movies, which is made fun of extensively in Last Action Hero, which we discussed on the show years ago now. But so we don't have that trope, at least. They just get medals.
Well,
Yeah, you didn't have angry captain.
Angry captain.
well, how do we feel about the bar scene where Harry gets drunk and he's like, you know, yeah, because like, what was Keanu's character's name?
Jack?
Jack.
Jack.
Okay. So like, Jack shot him in the leg, and we kind of alluded to it when they were talking about shooting the hostage, and once the hostage is crippled, like, it's one of the things where like, you can shoot somebody and not kill them,
Yeah.
but it's the point that you still shot them. And so it's like, you shoot the hostage, you cripple them so they can't be used as a hostage anymore, and then you can take down the bad guy. And they mention that, and that's kind of what we get. But like,
I would have
Harry's
rather
upset.
he didn't tell him to shoot him, that it just
Yeah.
happened, and then it was like, you could still have the scene at the medal ceremony and say, you shot me, and he's like, I told you I would.
Yeah.
Even though he wasn't talking about him directly, rather than you told me to, because him saying it robs us of the opportunity to remember 5 minutes earlier.
Well,
and
he
just
doesn't say
reverse psychology.
he doesn't say shoot me. He says take out the hostage or whatever, because he alludes back to the thing that they were talking about,
Yeah, I
and
know
then
he
shoots him in the
does.
leg.
But that's what I don't like that they talk about it in the scene. I'd
Yeah.
rather he just like they look at each other and then he shoots him, and like we understand that they understand.
But, you know, I don't like the bar scene where he's drunk and now he's upset because then he just dies later in the movie.
Well, he does, yeah. Which
And
I
it's
guess
just like-
he's got a wife, right?
Yeah.
So we never deal with that.
I thought that part was that felt so rushed. They were just like, okay, they're storming the house. He's dead. Move on.
Yeah, and that we get you heard about Harry, right, at the end, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about it. I'm kind of in love, so this is going to be a happy movie.
yeah.
Yeah, he's like, it's sad, but I found my girl, so it's fine.
Yeah, the lady from Bird Box.
Which also he recovers really quickly because he's limping around at the award ceremony with a cane and in the bar and everything, and then I think we're given to believe it's the next day, right? Because he's still hungover, and he's sitting at the desk, and like they go out to take the helicopter to assess the situation, and then later he's storming the house with the rest of the SWAT, and he's not limping anymore.
No.
So I
Yeah,
guess he
it's
got
like,
over it.
shouldn't you be on leave or something?
Yeah, well, I guess they put him on a desk, so he still gets to work, but he doesn't have to walk around or anything. He's going to be not going on SWAT assignments for a while, except then he does.
But then he does, and then he dies.
But I think
I honestly
Go ahead.
I honestly forgot he was in this movie because I saw this like a really long time ago as well. And I was like, is that Jeff Daniels?
Mm-hmm.
So
Guys, I finally found the character in Bugs Bunny that I told you.
Oh
Sorry,
my God.
backtracking a little bit here. But I've been looking because I've been looking honestly for this character for a long time, and I could never figure out how to describe it, and I didn't remember the name. So I'm putting it in the group thread now.
Okay, so
you can see.
This will get tweeted with the Rami Malek pictures, so you'll
A
get to
side by
compare.
side comparison.
It has been sent.
It doesn't look like him.
Come on.
I feel like that's more like Steve Buscemi, if anything.
Yeah.
It does look like more like Steve Buscemi. I mean, I can see what you mean, but it's not as dead on as you're describing it.
Like that's what I imagine. That's why, because that guy always in the Bugs Bunny movies always looked creepy to me, and it just made that connection. Sorry. Anyway, that was. I just had to get that in there because that was.
Ew, and then you put a picture of him smiling. That's even creepier.
I know. What I'm talking about. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
So-
Can we go back though? We
Yes.
can't say that Sandra Bullock is the lady from Bird Box
That's the
because
joke.
like
Yeah.
That's the joke that's going around right
Yeah.
now because people
are people saying that?
Yes, because
No.
because you're talking about people who are watching this that are like between the ages of like 18 and like, you know, maybe early 20s, and they just maybe don't know who she is.
But yeah, that was the whole point. Is you have Sandra
I was
Bullock,
gonna
who's
say,
really
what?
great, and then she's in this movie, and then you have people who, for some reason, have no idea who Sandra Bullock is, and it's just
Yeah,
like,
there's-
oh, it's the lady from Bird Box. It's like, are you dumb? Are you?
There's all these
dumb?
memes now where somebody had went through and said like she didn't, like basically describing like all the characters she played. She didn't do all this to be known as that lady from Bird Box.
Yeah, and that's why
Yeah,
I made
hell
the
no.
comment. Thank you.
Okay,
Kitty,
I'm glad we
internet
addressed
high
that
five.
because
Yes.
I was a little concerned.
Kate is not exactly one of the internet, so
No.
she hasn't seen that one yet.
I honestly get all my memes from you, Cloud, that you post on Facebook. It makes my whole day.
I hate them because like sometimes I'll find ones that you know I can throw in the thread, but 9 times out of 10 I'm scrolling. I'm like, that's funny. Oh wait, Cloud posted it. I still save it though.
You're
we-
welcome.
We presage one of the rules of phone booth here because a ringing phone has to be answered, doesn't it?
The first thing I thought of.
It's like bus blows up right in front of you. Wait, what's that phone? I better walk over there and answer
Yeah, he's
it.
not even like. I mean, you would think after a bomb like that, he's like running towards it, or you know, gonna try to call or do something to help, and it's just like ringing phone, and then they do the classic movie stare, slowly walk over. Like there's literally a burning bus where people just died, and you're like trying to build suspense for picking up a fucking phone.
Well, it was just the bus driver on that bus, right?
Yeah.
'Cause
It was just
yeah, because
like-
he had just started his shift.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, one of the things I was thinking about is whenever they started making the parody movies like Naked Gun and Airplane and everything like that, because I love Leslie Nielsen. But
Yes.
I was thinking, like, how could you take this and make a parody out of it? And I was thinking, like, something you could kind of do is have the guy, like, hang the phone up on him. Like, I don't negotiate with terrorists. And so, like, the guy's, like, trying to tell him, like, his plan, and he just hangs up on him. And I just kept thinking, like, how would that affect the movie? It's like, yeah, I put a bomb on this bus. It's like, yeah, you're going to tell me what bus it is, click. It was a thought that ran through my head.
I like it. You should make it.
Now there is, maybe this only works on me because I don't know what everyone else's opinion on. But I do think that the suspense, and I've seen this a number of times. The suspense works in almost all of the places it's supposed to.
I would agree.
Getting the passengers off the elevator, even with the dumb woman that wants to
But
die. Watching the
think some of the-
speedometer like slowly creep up, and then creep down later. They get a fair amount of mileage out of that, and it's fairly effective pretty much every time for me anyway.
Well, I think the only reason the speedometer scenes are effective is because every time we see them, it's because something's happening causing the people not to pay attention.
I think for me, a lot of the suspense stuff is what annoyed me about the movie because I felt it was kind of forced. Where it's like they're putting it in your face and be like, you should be worried now. Look, be worried. It just felt a lot of it felt forced, and There's no way that bus stayed over 50 miles an hour
There are
when she's going through the turns, hitting all those
water
cars
barrels. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't maintain 50 miles an hour doing that. Absolutely not. And then when he stabs the fuel tank, I mean,
Well, that's just escalation, though. Like, the thing is that this is so.
But it felt
much...
like forced escalation. Like, it felt like he would do that. I'm like, oh, of course he did that.
Well, we disagree on. One of my favorite movies is Airport 75, which is the second airport movie, which is the pilot gets killed and or almost killed, and the co-pilot gets killed, the pilot gets killed. And there's a hole in the front of the plane, and they're stuck in the air. Nobody can land, and this feels like this hits a lot of those same kind of story beats. This is very much a 90s continuation of the 70s, not disaster movie in the way of like there's like two kinds of disaster movies. There's like escape disaster movies, Towering Inferno, Poseidon Adventure. And then there's like ongoing disaster movies where things just worsen, which are like the airport movies and things
Towering
like this.
Inferno.
Towering Inferno is kind of a combination of both.
That's why it's so good.
It kind of rides both lines and does a good job with both of them. And so things like this where it's just there's a situation that now this has it's because someone did something deliberate, which in Airport 75, just a small plane isn't paying attention and hits a large plane, and that's what causes the beginning of the disaster. In this, it's deliberate, and so you have the whole like mystery and crime element of it too. But although there are eventually planes involved as well, and it actually crashes into a plane at the end because it's not enough to see a bus explode. We saw that. In
I got a note on that too.
We got to see it explode and a plane explode.
All right, I do want to make a quick callback just because we were making the jokes, but one of my notes from earlier in the movie was the lady from Bird Box doesn't sit near yokels. Because when the tourist guy, like, he just can't shut up and he's like, I'm a yokel, I admit it, and then she just gets up and move. Like I that was pretty funny to me. But I want to go I'm going to hit what Kenny said, because I do agree with what Kenny was talking about with them not being able to maintain 50. Whenever they're on the interstate and the bus is doing 50 and Keanu Reeves, he appropriates the vehicle from the nice black gentleman who did not steal the vehicle because Keanu Reeves stole the vehicle. Oh, that was a good scene. I like that. That was funny.
Man. Yeah.
But they're on the interstate. I don't know which one that is because I'm not from California. And they're like, oh, what, you're driving
something ending in 05.
Yeah, like, you're driving so fast. Oh God, slow down. And it's like, oh yeah, they're doing like 50. And I'm just over here just being like, 50 is fast? Oh my God. Like 80
I routinely do between 80 and creeping on 100 if I'm traveling somewhere and nobody's like, ah!
Yeah, like anything over 80 I would classify as going fast, just because so much of the roads from where I'm from, like 70 is like your normal cutoff point. And then a lot of the times the police will be like, oh, well, you're doing 75, we'll ignore you. You push in 80, we might pay attention. So anything under that point, I would say, is like normal. And then anything under 50 is slow. So, yeah. My Lord.
Well, he has a Jaguar. He drives a fast car. I think some of it may be circumstantial, that he's been basically hijacked. Even if it's supposedly the police, it's still like, you're driving my car without like by force because you pointed a gun at me and I don't know what you're up to. So it's not really just the speed, probably.
Yeah, but it's one of these things where it's just like, oh, this is so weird. Like, is this like how California is? Is this like what's going on? I don't know.
Well, I think maybe the traffic is so bad in California that you never go fast enough to get used to it.
Now, I think that's the thing, because I remember there was an episode of Mythbusters where they were testing if you saved gas by having your windows up or down kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they had to drive around a race car loop, like one of the NASCAR loops. Mm-hmm. And Carrie was in the vehicle and she was talking about how this was too fast for her and they were only doing 60.
Yeah.
And so that's why I had that comparison, because I remember someone in real life actually making these kinds of comments. doing 60. Now, granted, 60 was higher than the 50, 55 from the bus and the car and everything, but that kind of cemented those thoughts in my head. So I thought I would go ahead and say that before we carry on.
Yeah.
There is something about bus drivers in movies where they get a kick out of not letting people on the bus, it seems, because like he does it with Sandra Bullock in this, and then later with Keanu. It happens in the beginning of the first Spider-Man movie, and it's just like, why? Like, you just run, like somebody runs alongside the bus one and you get on the bus and everybody just laughs and thinks it's the best thing ever and doesn't let them on, and it's mean. Like,
because they
why?
should have been there on time.
Well, I guess, but still, like, there's no harm in letting them on the bus.
Yeah, we're not doing 50 yet. We can stop.
It's fine. I mean, when Keanu's trying to get on, they're on the interstate, so it's unusual. But it's like they just pulled away from the stop when she's getting on.
My question is, when it went over 50, the bombs were armed.
Yeah.
And we know he had somehow remote capabilities to be able to blow certain bombs, do all this stuff. Now, could he arm the bomb himself?
Probably.
Or did it have to go over 50? Because
he probably could have if they'd been, if Keanu had made it, because then like the game is over.
Well, that's the thing. They didn't address that, and I wish they kind of would have, like, as if it would have been just armed anyway, because he could have stopped the bus very easily. He's running alongside the bus. Stop the bus! Stop the bus!
He could have just so obstinate. Then
you shoot the tires.
Well, he could have just literally pulled out his gun, shot the tires, and the bus never would have made it to 50.
Now,
because the bus driver would have stopped at that point if some guy's shooting out the tires. Like, he wouldn't have kept going, and it would never have made it to 50. And then movie's over.
Well, now, because the movie does allow this to happen, it doesn't need like a plan B. Now, one of the things I had thought about was, since this is a game, like that's what this is. This is a game, and it's been rigged. So it's not a fair game, and we got to get that established. But I can understand if it wasn't, if he could not remote activate it. Where it's just like, he set these rules down where it's like, if it goes to 50, it'll activate, and if it drops below 50, it will explode. And he stands by that, because I'm sure he would have a backup plan where it's like, oh, you thought there was only one bus? And then it's just like, it's one of these things where it's like he's forcing Keanu to lose, but making him play the game anyways. So
yeah,
he does have one, like Keanu has a line. She says, "What if you win?" And he says, "We'll play another one tomorrow."
Yeah.
And so he does kind of have this idea that this is not going to end until they catch him.
Exactly.
Even if he stops this, then he's going to come back and bomb something else again, because that's who he is.
And I feel like since the movie either needed to play it out where it did work, or they would have to get really deep on just like how much are they going to actually have this guy playing out. Now, granted, for an action movie, it worked. But if they were trying to make it like a suspenseful thriller, then it would have failed.
Yeah, well, you'll notice that thriller
is in everything.
It's at the end of the list. Yeah. Now, I kind of dispute the romantic part, because sure, I guess they kind of get together at the end and they give each other looks earlier on, but it's not really like it's not like romantic in the way you think of romantic movies.
Well, relationships built off of intense situations normally fail.
Yeah, which we've been saying for years, because we thought we already did this movie, that at some point we have to do Speed 2 because it's terrible and ridiculous, and we make fun of the tagline, rush hour hits the water. Fairly commonly when we talk about poster lines, which in the case of this one is "Get ready for rush hour," is the tagline, which is what Rush Hour Hits the Water is playing off of as the second one. But I
just think a lot.
The relationship doesn't work at the beginning. Like, Keanu's not in the second one, and they frame it as like they broke up because like he kept going after action or something, and she didn't want to deal with it. And so they do break up between movies. So their relationship didn't work.
Oh. What I was saying about the, when we were talking about the shooting out the tires, and that's a part of the forced suspense that I was talking about. Because before he shot out the tires, he's banging on the window or on the door saying, "Open the door, stop the bus, stop the bus, stop the bus, stop the bus." He's just going on and on about this and that. Why do you not pull your badge out in the beginning?
Too long to pull the badge out.
Yeah.
That's
and
true.
and then when he's telling him, all he's saying, screaming is, "I'm a cop! I'm a cop!" Take your fucking badge out. Show him, say, LAPD, stop the bus. Why is that not the first thing you say instead of screaming? And then once they passed you, then you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm a cop. Let me get my badge out."
Well, and that's what he did to Toon Man, though. So we know. He didn't pull his badge.
It works.
It does work.
It obviously works. But you have to know, running up to a vehicle screaming for someone to stop their car. How in your head is that?
Yeah, it's
gonna be like, yeah, they're totally gonna listen to me.
it's
No, if
really
somebody's
sloppy.
running up screaming,
It's really sloppy.
banging on the window, I'm gonna be like, fuck this crazy guy.
Yeah.
It's sloppy.
But you show
right.
me a badge,
It is.
then I'll stop.
Yeah, I agree with
that
you
part
like
is sloppy,
110% because it's unnaturally ridiculous. It has no true bearing on it, especially because the very tactic that he should have used from the beginning has been used before it and after it, and it either worked or he still got on the bus. Like, something could have changed where maybe he was just like, he was chasing after the bus, he hit it from behind, somebody noticed, Sam the bus driver was just like, "I'm not stopping for this fool," keeps going, and then that's when he has to commandeer. So we're not running into this Keanu having to do something unnecessary or ridiculous. You can have almost an identical scene, only instead of him constantly slapping the bus and causing a commotion, he just ends up being a little bit too slow because they're vehicles on the interstate and it's a dude running.
Yeah.
It makes sense that he cannot catch up to it.
Well, that I understand that eventually it speeds up, but there was a whole lot of time that he could have actually
It's an
got
easy
it
fix.
stopped.
It would have saved production time. It would have made better sense, and it wouldn't be sloppy. Hoorah.
Yeah, I didn't look at it this way at all. I was just like, yeah.
Well, no, I don't really
But
mind
see, I think-
it because, like, I understand we have to construct action and suspense here because that's the kind of movie that we're making. You could have done it a little better, but it bothers me a little bit, but not so much that it really hurts it. I don't think.
I think the suspense part of this scene fails because everyone involved, it's like once the middle of the day, we can see everything clearly. And then everyone on the bus is looking at him like, what does this fool want? There's no suspense involved other than Keanu knows there's a bomb and everybody else is oblivious.
Yeah,
and
well,
he's
they keep cutting to the speedometer.
Yeah,
though,
and
so.
and no one's saying, "Hey, there's a bomb. Hey, I'm a cop." Nothing. Now, when we get to the point where he's commandeered the vehicle and he's like, "Right, bomb on bus," and then it slaps the glass, and it's like, "Oh." Now,
Yeah.
I think that is a good scene. Like that is in. I think it's not.
It is. It should say there's a bomb on the bus.
should say-
Don't slow down.
Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
I think
Okay, that's
piece
the
of
part that
paper.
pissed me off about
That's a
that.
lot of
He had
writing, though.
another opportunity.
That's a lot
to
of
not
writing.
create-
So.
Again, forced suspense. Now, of course, there's a bomb. Now it's slowing down. Oh, we gotta speed it up. When all the first sign should have said, it should have said, keep the bus above 50, bomb on bus. The fact that they just said bomb on the bus.
The above
what do
50 is the most important.
He's
thing.
lucky. He's lucky that she didn't slam on the brakes and then it just exploded. Like, what would you have done at that
Yeah.
point? He's like, "There's a bomb on the bus."
He's like,
Good for
"I
me. I told them, and then she
should've given
slams
more
on the brakes and it just goes boom. And he's like, "Oh fuck."
It's one of those like miscommunication.
Yeah,
leads to
and he's like,
terrible
"Oh
things.
shit. Maybe I should have led with the whole gotta keep it above 50
Don't
thing."
stop.
Which, to be fair, we've hammered movies for the entire history of the show on that problems created because people don't just talk to each other are kind of bogus problems.
Yeah.
Like if you would just
That's
talk to each
what
other, share
frustrated me.
information, you wouldn't have these problems. And so it's enforcement of, of falseness.
If I was gonna tell you there's a bomb, if there was a bomb in your car and opening the door would make it explode, I'm not gonna just say, "Hey, Austin, there's a bomb in your car," because your first reaction is gonna be to get the fuck out of the car. Same thing with the bus, and the only way to get out of it is to stop. So first thing I would say was, okay.
And also, they're not allowed to get off the bus, which he needs to tell them. So
Exactly. There's all these things where he could have just literally been like, "Yeah, I kind of fucked up the order and how I did that."
Yeah.
So they're all dead now. Moving on.
Now, something I do
Move on just as fast as when his friend Harry died.
Yeah. Now, something I do appreciate for that scene is whenever he realizes that they're already going over 50.
Yeah.
Because he is driving and he's trying to look behind him and he's relying on the guy who owns the vehicle to like write the note and everything. And that's whenever they realize that they're already going above 50, so they can't slow down. So he goes into like panic mode. And I think that really does adjust well for I gotta break the door off of the car so I can just step out of the vehicle. But at the same time, I think that scene's kind of unnecessary. Because like
because it was a convertible.
Well, it's not even the fact that it was a convertible. Like,
it made no fucking sense.
Like it's not so much that
it was a fucking convertible.
It's
you had to break the door off.
Like, you could have easily had like the dude who owns the car drive it while you kind of like perched yourself on the side and then just get really, really close. Because like if the bus itself isn't moving, even though you're moving forward, it's not swaying back or forth.
Yeah.
So the driver of the convertible, all you have to do is slowly and easily lean over to the side
and just step
and then
on.
you just step off and it's easy.
The way that he does later with the SUV with handles.
Yeah, it's really
That's
easy.
the part that oh my god, these are the little things that just fucking tore me up about this movie. Is because that when they try to get close to the other truck to unload the bus driver, she's like driving blind. Like I think she has her blindfold from fucking Bird Box on, and she's fucking swerving like 20 feet away from the truck and then back to it. We can't keep a solid connection. It's a step, and they're like this forced suspense. But then later, when they want to unload everybody off the bus and they put the piece of wood, man, she can drive as straight as a fucking arrow.
Yeah.
She has more experience by then, I guess. But
by what? Come on.
The thing about the earlier scene with the truck is you don't like. She should just stay still, and the truck should get closer because that guy's probably a better driver.
Well, it's not even the better driver. It's the fact is whenever you have something that you're wanting to unload moving, the thing that is carrying the cargo, this being people, you do not want it moving because you're pulling things from it. That's the problem. It's whatever is holding the material you want to move, that needs to be as stationary as possible to make the transition of said cargo easier. Now, granted, yeah, the dude who's driving the truck with the flatbed thing on it is probably definitely a better driver because he hasn't had his license revoked.
Well, and he's used to driving large vehicles. We're told she came from driving a Pinto to driving the bus.
Yeah,
and
it's
so
just a big Pinto.
Even if she's a fine driver in a Pinto, a bus is a different kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a completely different beast. But it's I didn't have so much of a problem. Yeah, I didn't have so much of a problem with this. I feel like
because
go ahead.
Sorry. And I would say I think because the problem I had with it was because we had several instances where the same things happened, but it was only bad and crazy when they needed the suspense.
Yeah, it's
when it was like okay,
difficult for suspense purposes.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah, it was like it's convenient. Okay, we need it for suspense. Oh wait, we're unloading everybody. Okay, now everything's fine. But before, when we needed suspense, whoa, we're swerving back and forth. Whoa.
Now,
like it just.
Now with her being sporadic, whenever she is unable to keep the bus stable, she is on a normal interstate. Whether it be the one that's on construction or the one that does have people on it, like regardless, like she's on normal roads. And then what seems to happen is she gets better whenever they're doing like the cycling around the
airport,
around the airport part. The difference is in the airport part, there is debris all over the place that she's constantly hitting. Now I want to back up a little bit and talk about her driving through these areas that have pedestrians. One, does anybody not look both ways before they cross the road?
Like cops just go speeding by.
Not here.
2 seconds past, walking the children out into the street.
Like what? Really?
And the bus is coming up fast. Like you could see it.
And the cops, the cops went by like crazy fast. You think they'd be like, "Oh crap, is there something going on?" They're like, "Cops."
Like
are
no
okay,
one's paying
keep
any
walking."
attention. It's
but
just
also,
like
the police are not being helpful because I have a note here. Police escort is not effective. Like they're just not. They're just speeding past. Like they're way too far ahead. They're not keeping people out of the way. They do later.
Yeah.
They do a good job later. They just surround them from all sides, but they don't right then. But no, people don't know how to walk on the street.
No. And I know it's
Los Angeles. People don't walk.
yeah, and now I know it's really kind of minor because it happened so quickly, and the only one they actually have any focus on is the lady who looks like she has a child, but it ends up just being cans.
Yeah.
And
In
that
the baby
one,
carriage from Ghostbusters 2.
yeah, and that one, I think that the effect of it is humorous because we, as the audience, immediately find out they're cans, while Sandra. Annie is just kind of a mess now.
Even
because
Keanu thinks it's humorous.
Yeah.
He's fighting back a smile when he's saying it's just cans. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a character thing or if it's Keanu breaking through or what, but like even he's having a hard time being serious
see,
about
well,
it.
Like they were
why
trying
would
to
you
mess
carry
with him
cans?
and
Like,
just
that's-
put cans in there and kept
Well,
it. for
some-
the
That's
final
like
Some
part.
people
an
have
expensive
shopping
old
carts.
style.
Some people
Yeah,
have
but
baby
like-
carriages, I guess.
well, no,
You could sell that baby carriage for way more than them cans were worth,
well,
and
see,
just get a fucking shopping
here's
cart.
the thing that confuses me. I'm used to seeing individuals who would appear to be homeless have a shopping cart with what look like either glass bottles or empty soda cans. This lady does not look homeless. She has a child stroller thing, and they don't look like soda cans. They look like they're grocery cans, like peas and corn and stuff.
Some of them look like soda
like that's
cans.
what they look like. And then when they spew all over the place, like you don't see like a can bust or anything. And so that's kind of
Oh, they're empty cans.
It makes me kind of wonder like what's going on exactly. But I can understand why Keanu's laughing because they didn't just kill an infant.
Yeah.
It's just like
It may just be like
so
I thought
much
we were gonna
Thank
kill a
God.
baby.
Yeah.
Relief.
Okay, challenge.
so much
Can we-
relief that oh my god, thank
Can
God.
we write a movie based on the lady with the cans?
I don't,
I don't
want
know
to.
if there's much to tell.
I
And
don't.
then so like throughout the movie, you're following the lady with the cans, and at some point the bus flies by and just nails it and keeps going.
That'd be like the very end of the movie,
Well, see,
right
this-
before the credits start.
That's just a riff on your like following the non-protagonist like as things go by. Which this is a perfect movie that you could do this with, where it's just like one. There are a lot of just random people that become momentarily involved in the action, and then we never see again. So you really could do that, just like bouncing from person to person as the main action happens.
That's pretty good.
I've been trying to figure out how I've been trying to break that story for the entire time we've known each other since you mentioned it the first time, and I've never been able to do it. So it's a tough thing to crack. Now we should
that
say
or like follow one of the people in the back of the bus, just like a really dialogue driven kind of movie where Keanu and them are up in the front yelling back and forth at each other and freaking out, and they're in the back like, man, I really didn't want to take the bus today.
So okay, what
we
if
get little moments of that.
what if instead of Keanu Reeves playing Jack, we actually have Bill and Ted? Like Bill and Ted have to save the day from an exploding bus.
That honestly would have forgave a lot of the suspense, because then it would be like a silly comedy. Then I'd be like, okay, it's fine. But when
Totally
it's trying to be portrayed
righteous.
as like this seriousness, that's what I'm like, okay, now it's a problem and crazy, but later, oh no, it's fine. We don't need the suspense right now, so it's cool.
Annie's a wildcat. Well, we're from the Wild Stallions.
Or what if?
Keanu Reeves is Jason.
No, because he's John Wick.
Yes, John Wick. He's way cool.
Oh, we need a versus movie of Jason Bourne versus John Wick.
That actually would be.
I'm down with that.
Like while
Probably
Jason
amazing.
Bourne's doing his thing to fight off the government, like he accidentally runs over a dog, and it ends up being John Wick's dog.
Oh my god, who kills who?
Like I would cry, and then it'd just be like nothing but action. Like
Be like if
New
Freddy
York.
versus Jason.
yeah,
type.
New York would explode.
Yeah.
So two things from the bus sort of era, or the mid part there when they're still on the interstate. So he crawls underneath, he looks at the or he hangs underneath from the hatch, looks at the bomb and says, "There's enough here to put a hole in the world."
No, there's not.
Which seems a bit exaggerated, and also because we see it explode later, combined with a plane full of presumably fuel, it does not put a hole in the world. So
Yeah, arguably, I think how did the charge? I mean, I don't know. It's a little risky setting off. It's one bus, and they're setting off a charge under the
stairs. It's like right there. It's very close to the other one.
Yeah, and the way C4 is, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. That was but yeah, it was a little exaggerated. But yeah, he's not gonna put a hole in the world. It didn't even put a hole in the airport.
No,
I mean,
it
the
didn't.
biggest. I think the explosion was mainly just, I think, the plane.
Yeah, it seemed to be. And then that other bomb does blow a hole in the stairs, and then we kill the old lady, which I'm so okay with and so happy about, because she's like,
well, because she's the elevator one.
Well, she's the elevator one, but she's actually where she can cause major trouble. Like if the woman in the elevator dies, the woman in the elevator dies. She doesn't hurt anyone else, except maybe make Keanu sad because he didn't get to save her. But if this one on the bus does something stupid, because she's being very stupid, she's being very selfish and self-centered and she's going to get everyone killed, and so she has to go, because in other movies,
and all the cops were like,
I know
they're all come to us, like, bitch, you know it's gonna that nobody's allowed off the bus.
They turned to the police at the beginning of Swordfish.
Now 1 second, I'm gonna interject on this one, because only Mike, I think that's his name, the sergeant, Mac is the only one that seems to have any contact with, like, I know they're all standing there, but
he's not briefing his officers.
Like he's not saying anything. He's just kind of talking to Jack, and that they go in the back and forth. But once Mac has been told that he is watching us, the cameras, and if anyone gets off, he will detonate the bus. Mac should have just gotten him out of there. Just gotten him out of there. Like, there's no temptation,
pull
nothing.
Away, so yeah.
But with Keanu Reeves being there, since the lady, he's standing near the door anyways.
Yeah.
And the old lady is there trying to get out. I would have just grabbed that bitch by the hair and yanked her back. Like, I'm sorry, old lady, but we're not going to die because you're being a coward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
not like, no.
I'm glad it didn't happen, because I'm glad she's dead, because we don't have to deal with her for the rest of the movie, because otherwise she turns into the old guy from Train to Busan, or the same character that's in almost all of these kinds of movies, where it's just, even Poseidon Adventure had one where it's just like the complainer character that's only there to cause trouble and drama, and you just want to just get killed, and survives most of the movie, and maybe eventually gets killed, or maybe not, depending on which movie.
There's one
it is.
even in Bird Box.
And I hate these characters, I'm glad she dies early, so we are saved from that cliche.
I do want to share with y'all that if the four of us ever get put into a situation with other people, and there's one of these complainers, I'm just shooting them in the face. Like, I don't care if I get.
Everybody's just gonna look around at each other and be like a consensus. The crowd's like, all right.
Do it.
Like, because like at this point, like, I've seen enough movies that I'm not letting this person kill all of us. I'll just take care of them now. And then we'll cover it up with an exploding bus, because they'll never find the human bits, which is weird, because after the first explosion, when it looks like the guy commits suicide by explosion, they're like, oh yeah, there was no debris, no human gore, nothing, just no blood. He killed himself.
Move on.
Yeah, he's dead. He vaporized.
Yeah, I mean, it was a large explosion, but
that's not how explosions work. There would still be bone.
Yep.
You would find something, though. There'd be some sort of organic matter. Like, it wouldn't just be nothing.
Well,
it's not the entire building. Like, the entire
house
building
explodes, and we see the police come like flying out of the windows and stuff. Now they're assumedly dead, but they're
intact.
Yeah, they didn't cease to exist.
Well, the thing is, the entire floor did not explode. The building did not explode.
No.
Like, there was enough still intact.
It blew Keanu down a hallway.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is there would still be debris.
Dramatic.
And it would be within a vicinity that could easily be searched, because you're still going to have chunks.
I do like
whether they're burned or not.
That transition, though, where we have this sort of like echoing of the explosion that fades into the applause at the award ceremony. I do like that.
Yeah, that's a good transition.
So Alan Ruck is in this. He's the tourist guy. Normally, I like Alan Ruck.
The yokel.
Alan Ruck is my favorite Star Trek captain. He plays Captain John Harriman of the Enterprise B in the beginning of Generations. And I don't like him in this. Or I don't like his character.
I really wish he would have died.
Like
him and the old lady should have hopped off together.
I mean, he's not hurting anyone, except I guess he's causing a little conflict with Ortiz and in the middle there. But
where did Gigantor came from? Because Keanu calls him Gigantor.
Yeah.
which is a
Yeah, I
hell
don't
of
remember
awesome
like
name.
the first time he called him that.
Like, whoa,
My
Gigantor
favorite
is
character
awesome.
he played was in Ferris Bueller. But
Well,
that's
see,
just
the
me.
thing is that I know that he plays Cameron in Ferris Bueller, but I didn't see that until after I saw Generations. So he's Captain Harriman to me before he's Cameron.
Yeah.
Got it.
Even though it occurred first. Which actually this is 94. Generations is also 94. I think they must have been really close. This is June. I don't remember. I think Generations came out in November. So he was in this before he was in Generations, but only slightly. It's in the same year. But yeah, he's like so annoying, like in a way that I don't think you could like is he trying to make her stop talking to him by being so deliberately obviously touristy, or are we just supposed to think like this is how yokel he is?
Well,
I don't really believe
I'm
it.
not really sure, because like just from a character standpoint, when she gets on the bus, we get a lot of direct screen time on her, so we know that, yeah, if you don't know who Sandra Bullock is, you got to know that she's an important character for this movie. All right, comma, pause, move on. But we get like tiny little snippets of the other characters, but we get more time with him just because he interacts with Sandra Bullock. Like, I don't understand why. He is annoying, yes, but it's not like this annoying actually pans out to be something.
There's no benefit.
Like, yeah, like there's no direct benefit. There's no direct character development. He just kind of exists as this annoying guy.
He's not so annoying that I want him to die.
Yeah.
But he's just vaguely annoying, and I just don't understand what his purpose is.
Now they move this on a little bit, and then they have him talk to the Hispanic guy that they call Gigantor, which is so cool. And he has this little snippet where he's suffering from a breakdown, and then Gigantor has to tell him to shut up, man. Like, we're all in this. And then you got the dude in the background, like, you say just because you got a wife, you deserve like no, listen, stop. Don't be jumping the gun. All right.
But they put a stop to it very quickly.
Yeah, and then nothing comes out of it.
Scenes, so I'm appreciative of.
I want to know if there was supposed to be something with this and they cut it out because it sucked, or if this was just something they threw in there and they're like, yeah, it's fine, leave it.
Well, there is on the special edition here listed 5 extended scenes. I'm not sure which scenes those are. I know I've watched them before, but I don't remember offhand. So
it's like,
could be that
because a character is annoying, and he kind of gives us the same little bit of the lady from the elevator at the beginning, where he doesn't quite get off the bus because like he's too traumatized now. I mean, like, hey man, you're being a tourist in LA. Just enjoy the chaos.
Also, he's super dumb.
Yeah.
Because he says, I've already seen the airport. It's like, not the point.
Not the point, bro.
There's kind of a situation
I bet
happening.
you haven't
Like,
seen
I don't know if you
this
haven't
part of
noticed,
the
but-
airport. But yeah, and that's his character doesn't really pan out to be anything useful or needed. He just kind of exists. At least the guy who pulls out the gun because he did a crime and he's on the bus and he thinks Keanu's after him, at least that panned out to be something.
Yeah, well, and I like the construction of that too, where it's like he's not being aggressive for the right reasons because he's confused as to what's happening, and then the guy that eventually ends up getting the driver's shot is trying to do what he thinks is right. Also, he's adding an unstable element to the situation. He should have just let Keanu handle it because he's the police, but he was trying to help, and then it just turns out to not go the way that they wanted it to. So it's all like everyone's doing the best they can
In a situation
and
they know nothing in.
Yeah, and it just turns out to be negative and complicated because they don't know everything that's going on with each other.
And I'm okay with this because like I'm really big in when it comes to sloppy writing, but we haven't got to the point where Keanu actually tells people, it's like, okay, now that we've paused, there is a bomb on this bus, and that's why I'm here. Like we haven't got to that yet. So all of this miniature chaos going on, I will accept. I think it's good for how it's trying to tell the story, because you got this dude who's just now jumped on this moving bus and shit's going on, and he's police, and now like I don't want to be arrested, and this guy's going off and everything. Like I enjoy how they handle this scene.
Mm-hmm. I also like that we don't know what he did.
Yeah, we don't know what he
We
did,
never
and
find out what he
he
did.
does uncuff him later.
He does, yeah.
He just lets him go. He forgets about him. It's like, hey man, like I'm not here for you. Whatever you did, whatever, you're good. We just gotta get everybody
I mean,
safe.
he could have murdered somebody.
Yeah, he
so.
could have.
Maybe.
He could have.
I mean, he's not that confident with his gun, it doesn't seem.
Yeah.
He's kind of holding it in an uncomfortable, like stressed out kind of way.
If he did kill someone, it was probably by accident, and it's killing him inside.
Yeah, which I get, like, Sam doesn't die, right?
No,
we
Sam-
never hear about him again, do
Well,
we? But
he does. No one
we're
says
never
he
told
died.
that he
Yeah.
died, so I guess they got
Happy
into the-
ending,
to the
Sam lived.
hospital and it's okay.
Which one was Sam?
The
The bus driver, the cool guy.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I assume he lived.
Once they start running out of movie ideas, they'll be like, "Oh, we're gonna do another Speed movie, and it's focusing around Sam."
No, except if they reboot that now, more people will die
Yeah.
because everything has to be dark now.
Well, I mean, we thought that, and then we got Aquaman, so
Oh yeah.
Well, that I feel like that's going to be an anomaly.
maybe it's an anomaly, or maybe we're coming out on the other side. Maybe dawn is coming, and
This is the end.
things will get lighter again.
All right. So I do have a question for everybody. How do we feel about seeing the gold watch in the explosive device under the bus?
I like that because it plants a clue there for the mystery, because we got the thing earlier about the pension and the cheap gold watch.
Yeah, I thought that was a good add in
I
there.
like when things do that, like they
Okay,
plan
good.
to.
Because
I like Harry's
and-
like investigation scenes when we cut back to him and he's looking through the files and the bus manual and trying to figure it out.
now,
I will say that was one of the few things in the movie that was not forced.
yes.
Because he mentioned the watch, but it wasn't like you weren't slapped in the face with it.
No, it just kinda
like it was
passes
a quick
by in dialogue.
He was like, "Oh, and you get a stupid watch, blah blah blah, done." There wasn't like this ceremony. There wasn't anything that I felt like it hit you over the head with it.
It doesn't draw
which is
attention
what I
to
wish
itself,
other
yeah.
parts of the movie were. Yeah. So that's why, like, honestly, if you saw the gold watch later and you just weren't paying attention, you may miss it.
Now,
really,
one of the things I was thinking about, because of course when something bad happens, I try to think of a positive way to fix it to help benefit the movie. When they're in the bar and they're drinking, the only thing I can think of is, now this isn't always true, but whenever police go to a bar, it's to a police bar. You know, because that's the thing. It's like,
It's not always true.
It's not always
Police are
true, but
people
it's like,
too. They can go to a regular bar.
But it's one of these things where it's just like, you know, you have the Blue Blood bar, and that's where the police go because it's pro police and we love the police here and we support our boys in blue and all this. Like, hey, there's nothing wrong with it. And I was kind of expecting, or, you know, like if they did this, I don't know how I feel about it. And I'm glad they didn't do it. But I was kind of thinking of like an old man sitting at the counter wearing one of the gold watches, who's a retired police officer. And they would have seen that
Or
watch.
just one extra clue.
Yeah, like they would have seen it, and then that's when Keanu would have realized, like, himself, because like they make a comment about Harry is the brains of the operation, you are the action man, normally action man dumb. And
which is the funniest thing about it is that he's the brains of the operation, except his name is Harry, which is his same name from Dumb and Dumber, which was also made the same year.
yeah. And so like,
And that movie was made the same year, so obviously something that wasn't a coincidence that his name is Harry.
and so like there's like so many things. I'm just like, how can we include or remove and change
Well, I
things?
think that might be they could have done that if they were going to be the mystery was going to be the primary story instead of the B story. So it's not the A story.
Because
the
like
A story is the Keanu action movie.
Yeah,
part,
because like
so.
when I saw the watch, I immediately knew that, oh yeah, this guy's ex-police. Like I immediately knew. Like there was no question about it. There was no more mystery.
Well,
like,
yeah, because if you were paying attention,
yeah.
And so like because this isn't supposed to be super deep in mystery, I let it slide. But at the same time, I just kind of like I think of alternatives.
So what about none of it really is important except that it's part of the way that he's watching. What do you think about the news coverage here of the situation?
Kenny, this is a good one for you.
The news coverage, I mean, was what it was as far. I mean, obviously, I wasn't in the business around this time, but or the year that it happened. But the coverage was fine. This was pre 9/11, so I assume you could get closer to the airports than you can now. And so how they were shooting everything and, the choppers above it, that would absolutely be a thing. They would have the helicopters above it. So, I mean, the news coverage on it was fine. I don't know how the thing with the camera, I don't quite understand, because I don't know what is broadcasting that far that somehow the guy in the truck can just like tune into it. Like, I don't really know how accurate that is.
Well, they say it's UHF, right? But I don't know how he has that big of a transmitter just hidden behind that little mirror.
Well, see, even that.
Yeah, and somehow he can just pick it up real quick, tune in. Let me just record a loop.
Well, because
here.
it's just like open TV frequency. UHF is open.
Well, and then he like rebroadcasts it. Like, I think there was a lot of muddied up.
He does. He rebroadcasts it. Switch. Somehow it has to be like overriding the original signal or something, I guess.
Yeah, which had to have been a powerful signal because he's reaching it in the van as well as whatever building he's in. So
now that's the kind of the thing.
I don't know how.
Like that's what I'm gonna fight on. I'll fight y'all on this one. I think for not knowing how any of this is supposed to work, a general audience, I think this is great. I think it's great.
Oh yeah, general audience is good. Nobody's gonna look into it, but I guess looking at it from
just because we know stuff,
we're
looking closely at it.
Because like even an antenna of that size, like I can
against it. It's just
but that was honestly that wasn't even any of the biggest. I wouldn't even list that as the problems I had.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at some point we're gonna have to talk about the two major things here.
And I think it's a cool way to kind of throw him off, and you're right, like.
Well, yeah, it's a classic.
Regular.
I like that he doesn't figure it out until after it's too late.
Loop-de-hoop.
Yeah.
Because if he figured it out and then was like, "Oh, I see you're screwing with me," and then that became another point where they're breaking the rules of the game, like that, I would have a problem with that.
That would be bad.
It's already too late, and then he's just angry and raging and still making demands and trying to get the money anyway. And they're like, wait, he doesn't know, and so they're still going ahead as if things are still going on because he doesn't know yet.
I want to know why it's 3.7 million exactly.
Well, I don't know, because it was 3 million when it was the elevator, but then I guess he's added a little more for his trouble.
Well, see, now here's the deal.
Submitted an invoice.
Interest.
Whenever we're told the amount the first time, it's only ever said by the police.
Yeah.
Like no one else says it. It's just the police say, "Oh, the dude's wanting $3 million," and it's easy to kind of just say, "Well, I'm going to round it off. I want to say what's easiest."
Yeah, because if it's 3.7, you're probably going to round to 4 because it's much closer to 4 than it is to 3.
Well, I'm just saying, like, whatever's the easiest to say. But see, when we get it from the guy wanting it, like he's very specific, $3.7 million, and I'm like, why? Why 3.7 million specifically? And you're police. You're going to know that they're going to put stuff in the money anyways.
Probably, yeah. Well, he has all of this, like, he knows, like, all of the bombs and what we would do to disable them, and so he's planned for that, and so that it's part of what leads them to thinking that he's police, along with the watch.
If anything, you got to cut the bag open and take the money out from, like, a hole that wasn't meant to be there anyways. So you don't set off any traps. Well, it's not just
on the bag, though. It's like between some of the money, so that when like the force is released, then it goes up, because it's just like because the bags are sealed tightly. If you started taking it out the bottom, it probably would still blow up and paint the money. Which shows you how much the government cares about large amounts of money, because they're just like, we'll just paint this $4 million. It doesn't matter. We'll just write it off and print new money.
With stars on it.
Which I don't understand why they don't just always do in hostage situations. Just give them the money and then print new money and then like catch them, and it's not going to matter either way. Just go ahead and give them the money rather than having all and just get it back or just don't care.
Yeah, because like, we're never going to be able to get that money. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Just go get the money.
You can't get it that fast. You've got to give us more time. And it's like, I feel like you could probably get it. Now, the thing,
when you have like hours.
He is an ex-cop, but not from Los Angeles. Then at the end, he shows up in disguise in an LAPD uniform with a badge and everything. Where did he get that?
Yeah.
Well,
unexplained.
Did he kill a
He just
cop we
has
didn't
it.
find out about or something and take his uniform?
Maybe.
Because
I mean-
otherwise it's like, I'm going to put on the old uniform. You're not going to notice. But he doesn't have an old uniform. He has one from a different city. So it's kind of odd.
Well, because
I feel like he would have had to, kill a cop and then just kind of take it off of him and then.
well, see, I'm
Use
not so
that.
much worried about how he got it because we've seen him already have things planned out. Because remember, he's crazy, not dumb.
Yeah, well, and we actually do see the uniform on like that mannequin over there in the room with all his TVs in his secret lair, but
Oh,
it's still,
yeah.
it's still an LA uniform. And then
Oh, by the way, battery update 12% now.
So then it does not put a hole in the airport. And then it's not over yet. There's more action to come because now we will have a fight on the subway. And his head comes off.
Hey, so before we get that far, can we we need to talk about this ridiculous jump.
Yes, we can talk
I
about
mean-
the
He's
ridiculous
like, you
jump.
could do it.
I mean, come on.
Okay, wait,
that
yeah,
is
we'll have
not
to talk about the
even.
jump. Well,
Is not even remotely even in the realm of possibility to be believed. Like somehow going 70 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden you see it when it jumps. It like the front of the bus like jumps way up in the air and it goes. It's a flat surface. It's
well-
at 70 miles an hour. It would have literally where they're at the windshield would have face planted right into that road. If it even made it 50 feet.
well,
Let alone jumped and made it all the way. Where did it jump? There was no fucking ramp.
let me
Yeah,
explain.
I love watching it because like you literally get to see the front of it just kind of tilt up as it starts going over. It's
Yeah,
great.
like what happened there?
All of that is true, and it's true that it's bogus and not real. But let me explain why it's that way. Because of the way, because it is a real. I mean, it's kind of a real stunt. They didn't do it over an actual gap, but it did actually travel a far enough distance that it would have made the gap had it been able to work that way. What happened was they did it once with like a test, like not the actual bus. As a test when they weren't shooting it, and it didn't go very far, and so then they rebuilt the ramp and they added this thing at the front that's a name for it that I can't remember, where it's like a pneumatic thing that like it's there, like it lifts up right as the bus gets there, and then the front wheels hit it, so that sets the height of the front of the jump, and then it goes down before the back wheels get there, so that it doesn't mess up the angle. And so they did it. They could only do it once. They didn't have time or money to do it more than once doing the actual stunt because it just totally destroys the bus on the other side. It's like flat at the back and the bottom, and it busted everything. The wheels came off. It really destroyed it. And so they could only do it once. And they didn't they got the angle wrong on the hydraulic thing, and it flew like it put too steep an angle on it, and you can actually see like the head-on shot, the front of the bus goes out the top of the frame, which the director really didn't like. It wasn't what it was supposed to look like, and so that it wasn't supposed to have that where it just lifts up suddenly at the front for no reason. That was accidental. It was just they messed up the way they built the ramp, but they couldn't do it again. They were just stuck with it, and so it was meant to look more realistic than it ended up looking. But they did do it, full scale with a real bus off a real ramp. It traveled, something like 80 something feet. So it would have made the 50 feet of the gap if they had been doing it over the gap and had a ramp there. But there's just no ramp. It's just flat. And so it doesn't actually make any realistic sense. But there are production excusable reasons for it, even if it doesn't make it more believable.
Yeah, but even if they made it look good, there's still no like actual real world way that would have worked.
No,
There's
they
no
need to-
pneumatic cylinders at the edge of it that are.
I mean, it's a construction site, so they could have put like stacks of something that made a vague ramp shape, justify it in some way rather than it just.
Well,
being
they could have
flat
done that.
road.
Put like gravel, like just put like a since there was that gap there, they could have put like a giant like gravel barrier just while they're working on the road so people didn't go off. They could have done it some way where it was at least plausible, but it was literally just flat.
Yeah,
and I'm
it's
supposed
just
to believe
flat.
that it somehow made
So,
that gap.
I mean, it's the centerpiece of the movie. It's in every trailer. It's one of the bus jump is the major
Well, just
memorable imagery from this.
And even if, let's say, it were to have something to make that jump, the bus would not keep going.
No,
it's
well,
just
and
like
it
the Dukes of
didn't.
Hazzard. Like they destroyed all these cars because every time they would do one jump, they would just destroy the car.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing that would happen. The bus would have hit and it would have been below 50 and would have stopped.
And then it exploded.
Yeah, even like taking that much of an impact.
Like there was so many different spots in the movie where it could have just went wrong and exploded and been like, oh, okay, well, moving on.
But that's the suspense.
But it's a movie, so it's fine.
Well, the thing is that when it comes to when she was driving the bus and she was taking that curve and hitting the sides of all those vehicles,
The ugly turn.
Yeah.
She was going like 20.
well, the thing that gets me is her hitting the vehicles is not the main thing that would have slowed her down. It's the fact that half of the bus was in the grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was so much
Yeah.
extra friction that there's no fucking way she kept it above 50. That was
Because like once you hit that grass, your car's gonna go, vroom. And with that bus having that much mass, that amount of weight to it, like once that first wheel starts going over that curb and hitting that grass, it's just gonna sink.
I do appreciate his no, we'll be fine. Wait, we won't. We will tip over, and then taking charge of the situation.
I have a story for this one.
Okay, tell the story.
Okay, so okay, explain the scene.
Well, I mean, presumably you've seen it, but they're gonna take the super hard turn, and so they put everyone on the other side of the bus to weigh it down so that they don't tip over. They to ballast it on the opposite side.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, when I was a kid, I did not ride the bus home, mostly because we lived so close, and my grandparents I lived with, they just came and got me because what are they gonna do? They're retired, and whenever I would go and stay the night with a friend, like on Fridays or something, I would just ride the bus home with them. Because, it's easy. Like, they're going home, and I'm just going to stay the night at their home, so I already have my bag of stuff, and I just bring it to school with me, and then whenever we leave, I just get on their bus and whatever. Well, I live out in the boonies, and so you don't have big fancy roads or anything like that, and sometimes a bus has to go down a dirt path, normally a gravel path, whatever. And one day our bus, the back right wheel fell into a ditch, if you will. Like they tried making a curve, and as they pulled out, the wheel sank, which lifted the front of the bus up a little bit. Like, we're not talking about it threw the front of the bus up. It didn't do that, but it lifted it up enough that the bus got stuck. And so all of us had to stand like packed, like sardines at the front of the bus. So the back wheel would lift out of the ditch and the front wheels would actually touch down so we could pull out and move forward. And I would say that has to be the most interesting thing I've ever done on a bus ever. Because like I've rode buses before. I mean, it's not something new to me, but it's like, how often are you going to be on a school bus and have to take everybody and move them just so the bus can get out of a ditch? It was pretty fun.
That's cool. Nowadays, it would just be like road blocked off, kids, parents suing the school board for using or trying to use their children as a counterweight. I mean,
Yeah, you definitely can't get away with stuff like that now.
hey kids, come over here, stay. No, it'd
The
be
good
like,
old days. Cloud's childhood.
Was there like a lot of kids on the bus, or was it like?
I'd say there was probably about over 20 of us.
I don't think that's really a lot for a bus, but it's not, like 3 or something.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe in Arkansas.
Yeah, well, because the thing is, well, it's not just the fact that it's Arkansas, because, remember, we live in the boonies. You could be in the boonies in any state. Yeah, the thing is like we had already dropped some kids off, and a lot of us that I say us, those who lived further down in the drop off normally would sit in the back. You'd have the older kids, and then you'd have those who would be like, because there was me, my friend's older brother, some of his friends. There was our the next door neighbor. Like just like this, the collection of us, and we sat in the very back. And I was probably in the second to last row. I don't remember exactly where I wasn't on the metal panel seat, but I do remember that as the lady, because it was a lady bus driver, and she started to pull out of the drive portion and turn right, and I guess she didn't go far enough, and then I remember feeling the back of the bus go loop, and so I wasn't sitting straight anymore. I was leaning back, and then she's like, we have a problem. And like, this is before everybody had a cell phone, and so we're trying to figure out what's going on, and so we kind of crawled our way to the front of the bus, and then you could just feel it tip forward, just. And then she kind of drove off, and it was really interesting. It's like, oh, we saved the day from a bus of drowning kids in a ditch. Superman.
So what's the other thing, Kenny? You said there were two major things. What's the other one?
Oh, that, and then the subway car. Where, I can't get the handcuffs off, even though in the close-up it's very loose and you could just slide it right off. But even that, okay, break your fucking hand, pull it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, but come on.
Like, it's life or fucking death. Oh, sorry, well, I don't want to break my hand. Well, you're gonna die. I would have just been like, I was waiting for him to say it. I would have been like, ma'am, this is gonna hurt really bad. And just fucking smashed her hand.
Well, you only have to break one.
Yeah, you only got to break one.
Yeah.
Like,
you break one hand, pull it off, and you go. Okay, get a cast later, but you're alive.
Like, Annie, what's your dominant hand?
And then jump, and then again,
and then you break the other one.
Let me increase the fucking, and then again, come on. It's unfinished road. Now it's unfinished tracks. And like, really? Fucking really? And then, okay, just increase the speed and we'll just like jump the tracks.
Yeah. Unfinished ocean.
Like, there's so many times he could have it could have smashed through there and then ran over like 100 people on the street and killed all these people, and then they could have been like, what the fuck was he thinking?
Yeah.
Well, but it doesn't. It only nudges a tour bus, so it's fine.
But it could have been way. It's not even like it was on an empty, unused highway. He's like, I'm just gonna increase the speed as fast as possible.
I don't think he expected we're gonna bust out onto the surface. He was just trying to.
No, he thought we're gonna jump the tracks because that was a logical fucking. Conclusion.
I will say that is the one thing that kind of annoys me about some movies. Like, I didn't really mind it in this one because it's like, okay, the action keeps going. But just when you think it's over and you're like, okay, everyone's safe now, it's great. And it's like, no, we're going to do kind of the same thing, but just again, because like the movie is not over.
You thought the action
nobody was
ended,
watching her. She's just standing on the side of the road.
Let's go to another form of transportation.
And then do the same thing where the driver gets shot. It was like deja vu. They had to do the same thing over again, except for without all the drama in between. It was like, all right, well, this worked last time, so just full speed. It'll work out.
Oh, okay. So I was just thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, so I'm making jokes. There's a gap in the road. There's a gap in the tracks. The second movie's in the ocean, so there's a gap in the ocean. And then I'm thinking about, like, what's the next one? Oh, you can have a gap in the sky. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's a mountain, so that actually counts. All right, that's good.
The reason I don't mind the things not being built repeatedly is that Mac has a line when they're going to go to the airport where he says that we're going to take them over to this emergency use runway, and he says, let's hope it's built. So the movie has an internal awareness that they keep encountering things that aren't built yet.
But like, Max, really the answer is, just go full speed. It'll work out.
Well, like, Mac's reaction to the bridge not being complete is
you're all fired.
Is beautiful.
Everyone's fired.
So you're all fired. It's like, we're not the ones building the bridge, but thanks, boss. I appreciate it. Oh, like, that's great. Like, a lot. I would say he's probably my favorite character.
Tax dollars at work.
Yeah. Lord. Thank you, Mac,
Joe
for
Morton
being great.
is a lot of fun. As
and And boy, he sure stopped caring about Harry really quick.
I think everyone stopped caring about Harry. I think Harry stopped caring about Harry. You can just see it in his face
I
before
know
he blew
he gets
up.
this look like the beep goes off and he's like, oh, well,
damn.
Yeah, not worth running. Yeah, we're dead. So,
Yeah,
I'll
but
just take it.
then Jack finds out and he's like, "Oh no." Okay, back to this. And then like at the end they're like happy laying on the ground.
Yeah, well, I mean,
kissing each other
he is
and-
kind of busy, so he can get hit by the grief later. We just don't see it. But yeah, it is a big switch.
I kind of would like to have him say, "This is for Harry," and then raise the dude's head up right before he just gets
He
decapitated.
should do that. That would solve the whole thing. That would solve.
Yeah,
it.
because then I'd be like, okay,
that
you
he's
do
still
care.
mad about
Like
it.
we
yeah.
got our revenge for Harry, you bastard.
I mean, also there's like 6 other SWAT team guys in the house that also blow up.
Yeah, but we don't. They don't have faces.
We are spared
They're not Jeff
he was close to
Daniels.
retirement cliche at least.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he was 2 days away from retirement.
I'm sorry. I got
Like
vacation
we didn't
hours.
see his gold watch like fly out the window.
Which the original version of the script before it was extensively rewritten was much more goofball and a lot more one-linery kind of stuff. They offered it to John McTiernan first, and he said this is a little too much like Die Hard. This is an adventure and bad guys and one-liners, and so he turned it down, and so then we got Jan de Bont to do it instead. But they
I feel
actually
like it would have.
did.
I could have forgiven more of the issues had it been more of the one-liners and funny, because they tried to play it off as like a serious movie with these like just general like physics flaws.
Well, I mean, a lot of that was actually was Keanu. He didn't want to be like a quippy one-liner kind of guy. He wanted to be like a real guy.
He's like, I'm an action star.
Trying to save everyone. Well, not even just the action star, because an action star at this point in time would one-liner extensively and be quippy. And also, even though the rest of it was written by whoever it was that wrote it, most of the dialogue was actually written by Joss Whedon, because he was better at writing dialogue than whoever was writing it otherwise. And so Graham Yost. So he's like, Josh, why don't you write the dialogue? And although we do get one-liner really kind of sort at the end where he knocks his head off on the light and then says, "But I'm taller."
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, he's taller now because now he's missing his head. So his head.
Yeah, I didn't understand that part when he said, "But I'm taller."
That's what it's supposed to be, but it's so immediate, and it's out of place because he hasn't been a one-liner guy the rest of the time.
Well, and it should have been like after he decapitated him, and then he says, "But I'm taller."
Yeah, it is. Well, he knows what's coming, but it hasn't happened yet. So
now see
then it's immediately followed by what happened to him. He lost his head. So they double up on the comedy of him getting his head off. So it's
but
it's
he's
odd.
laying on his back, being taller, having head, not having head. None of that makes any sense for the circumstance.
Well,
It's a bad
But I'm
one-liner.
taller
even if you're laying
in
down
10 seconds if we stand up next to each
even
other.
if you're laying down, you still have height. Like, it bothers me so much that babies are measured in length.
Oh my
instead
god,
of
don't
height.
say it. How long they are.
And it's like,
Yeah, but that makes sense because
God, I
they
hate
can't
that so
stand,
but you
so they
could
don't
stand
stand
them
tall.
up, and they're
Yeah, but if somebody asked you, "Kate, how
No.
tall are you?" and you're like, "Well, I'm laying down, so I'm 5 foot
No,
something
but I
long."
can stand up, so I can be tall where babies can't. They lay down.
But suppose you get paralyzed. Do you then revert to length rather than height? Like, it doesn't. It just
Yeah, what if you
bothers
can't
me.
stand up? You're like, does it say on your license like 5'8" long?
Well, that's a fucked up thing to say to a paralyzed person. How
just-
tall are you? I don't know. I can't stand up, so I really haven't measured lately.
Well, I'm just saying, like, when does the criteria matter? It's like if you stood up at one point in your life, or what if you never did? Are you measured by height?
It just
Well,
bothers me.
babies
I
are
think
not
that's
tall.
the thing. It's like, when does it convert over?
I don't know. I guess when they can
I hate
stand
that.
up, but
They're like they're like this much long. Like
Like,
you
it's-
make it sound like it's a fucking like a snake.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's like a baby snake. It's like, oh, how long is it?
How long is it?
It's only 4 inches.
But
Ew, don't compare babies to snakes.
Hey, I like
Gross.
snakes.
no, we don't compare babies to snakes. We compare children to dogs because they're very similar.
Or
in
children's
many ways.
to goats because they are also very similar.
And they also have kids.
Yeah.
Even. And then the final thing is partial film under credits for part of the credits, which we have to mention because we always mention, and I approve of it. Although it's better when it's the whole time. It's not the whole time here. Anything else?
I don't think.
I'm good.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Let me double check my notes.
Everybody hold on!
Brian D. Johnson of Maclean's magazine calls Speed the best thriller since Die Hard. Colin McLean of CBC News World says it grips you in the first 90 seconds and doesn't let go. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone calls it the thrill ride of summer. And Anthony Lane of The New Yorker calls it the movie of the year.
Florence!
Did they really?
Keanu Reeves, Dennis Hopper, Sandra Bullock. Speed.
You'll have to be on it.
So that's what people had to say at the time. But how do we feel about Stars?
I'm giving it
You guys
5.
can go first.
I'm giving it 5 stars
Giving it
because like there are problems with it. Yeah. But a lot of them don't really bother me. And I'm just like, that's dumb. That's sloppy. But I think the overall, like, I don't want to call it action, but I guess it is technically action. Like a lot of that kind of just keeps me where I'm like, oh, I am entertained. I am enjoying this. That's dumb, but at least this is still fun.
I guess it's just movie shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it 5 also because I didn't actually ever finish the like the Airport 75 thing. I like it a lot. Kenny did not have nearly as much a good time with it when I made him watch it some time ago. But this, yes, there's dumbness about it, and there are some things that could be better, but for the most part, it really works for me. Like the suspense works, the action works. I kind of forgive some of the things that are just kind of inherent to action movies. Just barely. I guess if the old lady hadn't died, that would knock it down a lot.
Yeah.
But because she they avoid things that do bother me in other movies of this kind, and it is exciting for like the whole time, and just like all of it works for me. Even the parts that don't quite work are not so bad that they hurt the parts that do work, and most of it works. Even
I agree.
even the music is exciting.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, go ahead.
I agree. I give it 5 stars. I think it's just like a classic action movie that is always going to be good no matter when you watch it. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. The characters are likable, even though Kenny might differ from that. Yeah, it's just one of those movies. I feel like no matter when you watch it, it's always gonna capture you. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the odd man out here,
Okay.
and give it 2 stars. And my reasoning behind that is, yes, there is plenty of suspense and action, but for me, the suspense for me wasn't, oh, is this gonna happen? It was me going, come on! What are you doing? No. Like, it was me, my like anxiety and suspense was up because it was one thing after another where I was just like, really? And there was just, to me, all this is none of the suspense to me felt organic. Everything just felt like, okay, like they might as well have had the big sign, for the audience that said, you're supposed to be worried now. Suspense. Like, oh, okay, yeah, suspense. Okay, I'm worried now. Like, it was just like, I felt it was so forced, and only when it was convenient where they needed the suspense, because other times when the same things happened, it was like, oh yeah, no big deal, we got this now. Oh wait, no, suspense. Oh look, whoa, everything's crazy. So I think like I just the whole movie I was just like pissed off at things that were happening because it just made no sense to me, and I can forgive it somewhat because I could forgive it as much as I could, being the type of movie it is, and it came across more as a cheesy action movie. But if they would have went full on cheesy action movie, then it could have worked better. But they tried to balance this like the logistics of a cheesy movie, but let's make it like we're pretending to be serious. So for me, it just every bit of the suspense for me was just like forced that I just 2 stars. I didn't you know, it's
See, I wouldn't
I
have
can't
liked
give it
it.
1 because it's
I wouldn't have liked it
not
if
the
it
worst
was,
thing
if
ever,
it was
but-
real cheese though. Like I like that it at least takes itself kind of
but it's not that I
seriously.
would have maybe liked it more, but I could have forgiven more of the stuff because
I guess
it's
so, yeah.
once you pass a line of being unrealistic to a point, more gets forgiven. It's like when, you know, a lot of stuff is anything that has to do with fantasy. Obviously, you have to suspend reality for it to be real if there's like, you know, fairies and shit. So you have to be able to
Fairy life
forgive
matter.
it, but when it's presenting itself as like a serious action, oh, suspense, oh, it's going to keep you on your seat. Well, then you have to ground it in a little bit of realism for that suspense, or at least for me, for that suspense to be real. So that's why I have to give it 2 stars.
Oh my god, stop with this group chat. I'm gonna freak out.
But they're so
Group chat.
cute.
No.
Oh, my
I
phone's in
hate
the room
snakes.
charging because I reached like 8%.
For all the listeners, he's sending in our group chat like themed snakes, like a pretty snake with a party snake with a top hat, and I'm not.
I wonder how
about it.
long it is. But you know what happens when like the snakes, like the snakes, when they kind of stand up, do they at that point get measured in height? And is it only cut off from ground up, or do you
No
measure
one
the tail?
measures snakes because snakes are gross.
I'm just trying to figure the logic here.
You're gonna make me cry.
And that's all we have to say about Speed.
And 2018.
And 2018, yeah. Although probably we will refer to things that happened in 2018 at later times, so that's probably not true.
Yes, that's all we have
That's
to
all we have to
say.
say. We will never discuss
About
last year ever again.
Ever
it is
again.
blacked out in our memory.
Onwards and upwards.
Excelsior!
Yeah. We do, however, have plans for this year. So this year should
Oh
be
boy.
a major year for the show. So look forward to things that we will not tell you what they are right now.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I mean, we'll tell you.
Is it in a box?
It's
Is
not-
it a
it's not
mystery
in a
box?
box.
Is it another box? What's in the box?
It's a bird box.
And follow us on Twitter.
Yeah, follow the show on Twitter. You know, write to us, letters at WWMpod, all that stuff. It's all in the description. We'd like to hear from
Yeah,
you.
link in the description
Link in the
below.
description. Yes.
Like and subscribe.
Sure. Yeah. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Later.
Keanu Reeves
Is Jason Bourne.